Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So, no, we're not at the beach. We're in the desert. We have nice temperatures, actually, and as long as you're a little bit in shade, it's really nice, and the breeze is perfect. And, the air seems clean.
Oh, it does. It seems beautiful. And the sky, oh my gosh, we're getting so much sun.
Yeah, and we're soaking it in. So, yeah, and there was the sound of kids down at the park a few blocks. I could hear them just faintly. They're having such a good time. Why is it that as kids I don't think we really have any problem with being in the now as kids. It's as we get to be adults, it gets harder to be in the now because you're thinking about so many different things. You have so many different things and obligations to society or societal obligations that get imposed on us. A way of living. Again, kids, they just start running and playing and having fun operating their human vehicles.
I'm kind of ready to hand in my adulting license.
I know. And, here we are. We're blessed right now to be with kids and grandkids. And so, it's wonderful. And it's not hard to look at kids and start to see through the eyes of kids the wonder, and the just anything can happen type of a viewpoint that kids have. They're pre-programmed, they're just truly being authentic.
And they are, and they're just going from day to day, moment to moment. And I think it's that freedom that, as long as they're in a safe environment, they know they're good and they can just be. People, and myself included, forget that we are human beings and not human doings.
Yeah, so when we look in the eyes of Lynn, how old is Lynn now?
She's still little Lynn, very little, under a year.
Yeah, she's about 10 months old. And wow, looking through the eyes, everything is just, everything is brightness, it's colors, it's depth perception, it's textures, it's all new. And here we are now, and I'm speaking for myself as much as anything, always thinking about what did we do, what did we get accomplished, these business wise and stuff, things that we have to do to again pay the bills and keep things rolling. This structure that we find ourselves in is not a natural one. It's not our natural way of being, but yet for so many people, if we were to have like overnight global revelations that changed society, ended the dark matrix system, and this is what we really want, is to have complete freedom, what would that look like, and who would be able to handle complete freedom? Can you imagine that? I mean, being able to, okay, there is no more government. You're not paying taxes. You're not having to do so many things. And again, there's pressure. Like when you get into a neighborhood, I remember being, a young adult and then feeling like, wow, okay, got our first house. And then, well, you don't want your house to look horrible. So you try to, make it look presentable. And, there is pressure from society that I think what it does is it gets us running on the wheel to the point where we no longer see the wheel. We cannot imagine life without the wheel in many cases.
It can. At the same time, a lot of people do well with structure. So if you take that structure away, they can fall apart, but then it tends to fall, but a new, better structure eventually is formed.
But can you imagine the freedom to form your own way?
That would be better.
As Rama, I think there's a fly that's buzzing him, and he's looking perplexed. Like, where's that coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Like the dogs, we took them out in the desert, and we took a couple of short videos of some springs that we'll share. Again, there was a skill to living and surviving in places, again, like Arizona and New Mexico, Nevada, and California's deserts, Utah, again, look, it boggles my mind when I look at how the indigenous people survived in some of the areas like where we lived in New Mexico. It took real skill to again cultivate the way they did and survive for generations. So obviously then it would be in that type of situation, it's all about just simply being in the moment every day, and that's it. You didn't, I mean, you might have planned for seasonal changes and stored provisions away, but it was organic. I guess that's what I'm trying to get to, is like an organic way of living, an organic way of life. People are searching for that. We were just in an area out in the middle of nowhere behind town, and again, the town that we're at, you got to drive over an hour to get to the next town, and that's quite a ways, and that's highway speeds. There's nothing besides this town for a long ways, and yet what we see people that are camping in 40-year-old campers in the desert with no utilities, a couple of maybe a couple batteries and a little bit of solar power. And wow, I do think that humanity is trying to take its roots back in more than one way.
It is, and I like the idea of like an organic type of um, system, something that just comes together on its own. Ants don't need any instruction to have some sort of system, some sort of structure. They work with the whole. And when you're in a little place like this, I like it because people depend on each other a lot, and you become very resourceful out here, especially when I was here when I was younger. There was no Amazon, and mail was at the post office, and it was different. And I don't even know if UPS came out here that often, or maybe once a week, I don't know. But yeah, people start to depend on each other, and and if anyone is out of sorts or out of line, when they're ready to get help, there's people to help them.
That's beautiful. Again, I do think it's a long process going from a Kali Yuga mentality, a Kali Yuga system, to what's going to eventually develop in the Bronze Age, which is going to lead to so much more freedom for self-discovery. But even within the Kali Yuga, you had individuals that found their way to self-discovery within the system. And there's always been people, we stumbled on a campsite like 5 years ago, and not too far from where we are now, that you wouldn't think there'd be a campsite out there. It's nowhere, and yet somebody was definitely living off the land, and it's not really their land. It's again, the federal government owns a big chunk of many of these states out west, and I think part of that's to keep people from digging too deep into our history and seeing what really has happened on planet Earth. But here is somebody living totally off grid in desert conditions that will get to be 115 or more degrees, and somehow doing just fine. I mean, there's all these stories. I don't think we ever talked about Scotty's Castle,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a historical thing that's really real, and the people in the area know all about that place. And I don't know. This was a lot of different rambling from things that I'm personally processing, um, taking a little time, to be I don't know, I guess it's recharging time in the sun, really,
Yeah.
is what it is, and unplugging time a little bit. So I thank you for letting me ramble. And the bottom line is, again, it's not always easy to truly be present in the now, but ultimately, as Eckhart Tolle and others have said, that is our purpose. It truly is our purpose, because we could fly all over this universe on many different dimensions of this universe when we're out of body. It's being in body. That's why we're here. We're here to have a different experience. And so instead of always looking forward to tomorrow or to what could be, or new horizons or corporate success or whatever it is, just enjoy today. And I think that's part of my takeaway from just sitting here and just watching the kids and being mostly quiet and just absorbing.
Yeah, it's been really nice, and we've had a lot of good times, seen a lot of fun things, and the dogs, they're relaxing and they're learning a lot of new things too. So they're finally getting socialized and seeing the kids and the baby, and they're doing good. So we're all going through a lot of expansion. It's good for us.
Yeah, I do notice that the dogs, when when they get a chance, they nap. I think it's a lot of downloads from the energy interaction of all the different beings.
It's been good for us. Get out of your comfort zone. Definitely get out of your comfort zone, because it's expansion, and that's what we are meant to do. And if we don't get out and expand, then you can kind of get stagnant, and you don't want to be stagnant.
No, no, it's all about expansion. That's probably the best word, too. As always, guys, much love. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Source bless. Namaste.
Namaste.